Well, Ray, let's talk about then loading up that top line. This is the second time they've tried that. They did it in Game 5 of the playoffs last year against Columbus, and they did it last night, trying to spark some offense and put all the eggs in one basket. And both times they get shut out, and not only just because they get shut out with their line, but the depth of this team gets exposed.
Right, so that when you were talking about that, I was thinking about at our course, there's this par 5 that I keep trying to make into, and I should stop.
Yes,
because
buddy.
I don't.
Because how many times you hit it? You go in the drink, don't you?
Pull out the
Yeah,
forehand,
and I'm like, well, why not just lay up in front? Because it feels like such a weak play. However, I'd still have the same ball, and I'd have a birdie chance instead of having to go to the drop area. So
why don't you do a hazy B, Ray, and lay up to a hunch and absolutely dig the blade of that wedge into the soil? Go ahead, though. Go ahead.
Right over the ball.
Oh.
You end up in the water anyway, but with an extra stroke.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ray. Sorry to interrupt.
So it hasn't worked twice. There's no need to go back to it again. I can see why they try it. It hasn't worked. So I think if they're going to do something, like I kind of liked when Kerfoot was on the wing. I think that's where he's best suited. It seems like it anyway. So leave him on the wing with Tavares and Nylander. Even last night, put Mikheyev up there if you need to do. You're going to need another winger. You don't have Hyman. You don't have Thornton. Put Mikheyev there. Play Patan there. Rotate 4 guys through there. Whatever you want to do, leave those 2 guys, and then keep that second line and see if they can really get some connection. Because you're going to have to find something until Simmons is back and Thornton's back, and maybe you're going to rejig everything again then.
Ray, I don't think John Tavares is playing his best hockey right now. Actually, I don't believe it's close. But I'm not going to go full Toronto and just say this is ridiculous, the contract, he's the captain, blah, blah, blah. What do you think can happen for him to kind of snap out of it and have some success? Is there like a line mate change or a different scenario for him? Or is it just he has got to pull himself out of this? His stats aren't like ridiculously bad. But we saw last night, if the 2 big guys aren't going, someone else has got to provide offense, and he is one of those guys that's got to do it.
I said yesterday, I don't think he gets the puck moving enough. I don't think he's moving enough on the ice. And when he's moving, he seems to get the puck and it becomes an anchor. Like he's just looking for the next play. He's trying to plod his way and think his way instead of just go play. Like, I don't find him, not that he's going to ever run over people, but I don't find him involved enough. It's like he's on the fringes thinking about where he needs to be. Could he benefit from playing with Marner? Hell, you and I could benefit from playing with Marner. And, what are you, 45 today,
I am. Thank you for mentioning that.
Happy birthday.
Thanks,
I
pal.
think Marner could find you a tally.
Well, getting around on the ice is a small problem right now.
Yeah, but that's why you could take your time, and he could wait for you. But I just don't. I don't know. Like you're not going to take Matthews and Marner apart.
No.
Why would you do that? So like at some point, he's a good enough player to be able to create something, to create enough chances. But that didn't even really happen until late last night when. They put him back in the middle, and he was with Nylander and Barabanov, but that's what he's got to generate it. He's got to generate it with his feet. He's got to move more. I don't see that happening on a regular basis for him.
No, I'm with you, and I think Marner's comment today was a little bit, it was honest, but he essentially said it was a little bit weird with Matthews and Tavares, and I kind of got the impression it was like, we got our own thing going on. Like, let's just keep rolling with Mitch and Auston. And, John, you got to figure it out on your own in a way. And as much as we talk about William Nylander, we bring him up constantly. He's more of a polarizing player. And there are more fans on both ends of the spectrum. Fans that love him, fans that don't. Tavares is more important to the overall success. Like, he is the guy. If we're like, we all know what Matthews is bringing and what he will continue to bring. We know what Marner brings and what he will continue to bring. Willie, I think you got to have it. I think if you want to win 16 games in the spring, Nylander's got to be a factor. But Tavares has got to be like a step below Matthews. Not like a a massive chasm between the two.
Yeah, but saying that statement, Brian, he's not going to be a step on. Matthews is one of the best players in the game. He's never going to play his best game when you're like, that's right below Matthews right now. That's unattainable in my professional opinion.
Well, listen, the way Matthews has elevated his game this year, that might be true. But I don't think we should just accept that John Tavares is now a middle of the pack second line.
I totally agree,
and that's not acceptable.
He does have to dig himself out of that. But to say he's got to be a step below, it's like
I think to win 16 games in the spring. I think you need Sid and Gino. Gino wasn't Sid, but he wasn't far behind.
How about go ahead, Ray?
Oh, I was just going to say that every time I think of Tavares, it's impossible to separate it, even though people, say one shouldn't matter, but you're paying him $11 million, right?
Yep.
He has to produce. That's too big a hit in the middle of your lineup to say, a cap hit, to say, oh, yeah, he can be a secondary scorer, he can be a support player. No, he can't. Your team is built financially around those guys being the offensive leaders. And O was right earlier, like the numbers they look fine, but they're not. He's got 2 even strength goals this year. Like that's just he needs to be better and is better than that. And as we talked yesterday, maybe the great comfort of all of this is the Leafs they've lost 4 times and he hasn't had a great start.
Well, Ray, just to stay on this Tavares topic, the way I look at it is he's a guy that puts a lot of pressure on himself because he always wants to be the go-to guy. And I still think he can be very productive, but I think it's safe to say that the torch on this team has been passed to Matthews and Marner, and he doesn't have to be that guy to lead the team in scoring or be the go-to guy for production. He still has to be very productive, but okay, he's going in a little bit of a slump right now, but there's still a lot of intangibles that he brings outside of the productivity.
Right, but don't you think, like, you've got to accept that? Like, you've got to go, yeah, I can. That's me now. And, he always appears to be wound pretty tight. Like he wants to produce. You can see it in his face, right? Some guys, they'd like to produce. He wants to produce. And it's different to not be the go-to guy. Because he's not. I mean, the go-to guys are Matthews and Marner.
Yeah.
But he, as Brian mentioned earlier, like he cannot be a support guy in the spring. Like eventually, Matthews and Marner are not going to score at this pace. Like Matthews is not going to score every game.
Yeah.
It may look like it, but nobody else does. So why is he going to be different? So at some point, that line has to jump. The Tavares line. It has to jump. And, last night was a game where, I was a little surprised they went with Tavares on the wing to start. That caught me off guard. With the changes that were going to happen, I still didn't think that's where they were going to go. And clearly after 2 periods, it hadn't worked.